Good afternoon. Welcome to the Department of Water and Power Board of Commissioners meeting for March 5th, 2013. Barbara, please call the roll.
We have Commissioners Holloman, Moss, Noonan, and Parfrey present.
We have a quorum. This proceeding will be televised on Channel 35. Please contact Channel 35 for the exact times. Agenda item number 2 is report and briefing from our GM.
Thank you, Commissioner Holloman. I'd like to take a little bit of time. There's been a fair amount of press discussion lately, but really we haven't had a report back to this Board of Water and Power Commissioners on the status of our feed-in tariff and our local solar program. So I'd like to give you a high overview with regard to that. On the feed-in tariff specifically, we started applications, accepting applications on February 1. We did segment the market slightly in that process, as we had indicated in the process that we laid out to you for the entire 100 megawatt program, the first part of our 150 megawatt feed-in tariff program. We had 4 megawatts allocated in Owens Valley for the whole 100 megawatts. And for that part of our service territory, that's equal to about our minimum load up in that area. Of the first 20 megawatts, and then we went out with 20 megawatts on February 1. We provided for 4 megawatts of 30 to 150 kilowatts, regardless of location, and then 16 megawatts worth of 150 to 3 megawatts, the larger tranche that we had. The response that we got was very robust to that. And again, for our first 20 megawatt tranche, we had 114 megawatts of applications in total. 29 of them were in Owens Valley, about 66 megawatts worth. We had 57 projects for about 44 megawatts for the 150 to 3 megawatt size. That's here in basin. And then 39 projects, or about 4 megawatts for the smaller 30 to 150 kilowatts in basin. Obviously, we were oversubscribed. We're pleased at the level of interest that we had in that. We had to use a lottery process, as we indicated that we would as we rolled this out, to prioritize to get to that 20 megawatts initial. And then we'll be going back every 6 months, another 20 megawatts. But this has resulted in, when we broke it down to that 20 megawatts limit, 38 in-basin projects, the smaller projects, of a total of 4 megawatts, 20 of the larger projects, the 150 kilowatts to 3 megawatts, for 12 megawatts worth, and then 2 projects in Owens Valley for 4 megawatts. Even though there was a very strong, much stronger interest in Owens Valley, and logically so by virtue of the difference in land area and the like. We've gone through that process, been working through it quickly. We've got about 47 applications have passed our technical screening phase. Those now go into the interconnection study phase. Anyone who's interested in tracking that process, we upload it pretty regularly on www.ladwp.com/FIT. We'll be talking later on in this agenda today about the next 50 megawatts of our local solar distributor program. So I'd like to turn my attention just a moment to the solar incentive program and just kind of how that implementation is going, because you may have heard some comments. We are dealing with some of the types of issues that we had in spring of 2011 because of the level of interest in our program. As of this last January, the first full month of data that we still have here, we were still receiving about 75 applications a week under this is our rebate program. That's double a year ago January's volume. So our reserve confirmations are still being issued within 3 weeks. That's within our program goal. Our inspections are now being performed within about 4 or 5 weeks of a customer request, and that's not within our program goal. Our goal is to be with 1 to 2 weeks. So we're adding more inspectors to this program. We want to ramp that up, and we want to get that ramped up and done. Our goal is to get that backlog taken back to get back to our 1 to 2 week level by no later than the end, and hopefully earlier than the end of April. We're doing about 140 applications a week. That's double the level that we were doing in terms of our inspections right now. Our incentive payments, in terms of getting the money to our customers once they've been inspected and the interconnection study is done, is about 2 to 3 months after that inspection, and that is consistent with our program goal. All in, just to put this all in context for the solar incentive program, you might recall that we had split that program 50-50 between residential and non-residential in dollars. The commercial program moves much faster. We typically get an instant take-up of that. We'll be going back out July 1, and we expect it will, have a very robust take-up of the commercial program. This next fiscal year, we'll have about $12 million, we estimate, for our commercial customer program, and we estimate that we'll have about $50 million for the remainder, the balance of our program for residential. Again, we split the whole program 50-50. At the rate of uptake that we're seeing on the residential side, we expect to have that residential program probably go into perhaps as late as early calendar year 2016. But commercial, we expect will be done in this next fiscal year in July. Overall, our expectations in terms of the amount of megawatts that we've had for the dollars of rebates that have been spent, we expect overall by the end of the program to have about 140 megawatts of net metered solar come online from the rebate program. So just want to give you an update of where that sits, kind of give you a little bit of context for what we'll be talking about later in the program on the next piece of our feed-in tariff. And I'd like to yield a few minutes here to Jim McDaniel, head of our water system, to give you a quick update with regard to the Coldwater Creek, Coldwater Canyon, excuse me. It was a creek a few years ago, unfortunately. Coldwater Canyon
More like a river.
Yeah, it probably was more like a river, wasn't it? So I'd like to turn it over to Jim to give you an update of what that repair is about and some of the traffic closures and the messaging we're doing.
Ron, will you get back to the board on say, mid-April or so about where we are relative to that backlog and hiring of the additional inspectors and the like, so we know we're on track relative
We'll
to
definitely do that.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, the Coldwater Canyon project has to do with replacing the city trunk line that was laid back under the direction of William Mulholland. It's a 100-year-old line. It goes from Los Angeles Reservoir across the valley floor up over the Santa Monica Mountains in Coldwater Canyon and connects with Franklin Reservoir. So it's a 60-inch diameter, 5-foot diameter pipe. It's 100 years old, and it's really one of the key links in our much smaller covered reservoir system that we have now. As was alluded to in 2009, we had a rupture on this line, and it flooded the neighborhood, right in the neighborhood there of Coldwater Canyon and Ventura Boulevard. The intersection was closed for several days to repair. Reconstruction costs were in excess of $700,000, and claims totaled nearly $8 million in damages. And we've lost almost 5 million gallons in that spill. So it's important that we get this piece of infrastructure taken care of. The construction of the city trunk line replacement began on June 1st in 2011, and it's going to be continuing in various phases through 2015. The work in this location that we're talking about now, DWP crews are replacing the segment that ruptured in 2009, so that actual piece of pipe will be replaced in this work. And pipe further south, which is uphill from Dickens Street, is going to be replaced at 3 different locations, requiring trenching across the road. We've been doing a lot of work. Anybody that's driven there knows that we've been under flagging for a long time. We've been able to keep at least one lane open in each direction. But basically, the alignment of the pipe crosses over the road in several places, so it does require at some point we have to do a full closure, and we're at that point now. I just also want to note, I think the board is aware of this, but maybe for our folks in the audience, that these are part of our water quality improvement programs that are being driven by federal regulations. They're not optional. We have deadlines, firm deadlines, that will result in penalties if we do not meet the deadlines associated with these projects. So due to the narrowness of the roadway and the use of the heavy equipment, Coldwater will be closed from Mulholland Drive to Ventura Boulevard, allowing limited access to the residents and emergency vehicles only to ensure the safety of the crew members and the public. The closures will be starting on Saturday, March 23rd, and continue on through Thursday, April 25th. Full closures will be Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. during non-construction hours, basically in the evening, and on Sunday we will be able to have one lane open in each direction. Next Monday, we will begin preparation for this by restricting traffic from turning left onto Ventura Boulevard from both the north and the southbound Coldwater Canyon Boulevard. So that will be coming up here very quickly. And this is needed so that we can have the closure in place by the 23rd of March. Alternative routes are strongly urged for those who use Coldwater Canyon as a thoroughfare. They include the Coinga Pass, Highland, Beverly Glen, Laurel Canyon, Sepulveda, the 405, and also I would add the Orange Line and the Red Line if transit is an option for you. We've been working very closely with Councilmember Krikorian and his staff, the Department of Transportation, area residents, schools, churches, neighborhood councils, and merchants to let them know about the need for this closure and to minimize impacts. The Department of Transportation will be installing LED signs at 8 locations, and we'll have traffic officers at the intersections at other locations, including along Mulholland Drive, at Laurel Canyon, and at Beverly Glen. Also, it should be noted that these are the plans we have starting as traffic conditions necessitate. We're very open, and we will be providing additional resources where they're needed when we go forward. There are about 250 homes that only have access along Coldwater Canyon. We'll be providing local access to those homeowners. It'll be severely limited. They'll have to have an official numbered permit to get in and out of the work area. And even for the local homeowners, when we have a full closure, they'll only be allowed perhaps only to go north or to go south, depending on which side of the opening they're on. So even homeowners won't be able to have through access there. We've employed a number of media outlets, including social media, earned media, paid media. This was all kicked off with a very well-attended press conference yesterday morning. Some of the outlets that we've been using is Patch.com, Twitter, KTLA, KNX, Daily News. We've had direct mail, and of course we're using our own LADWP.com website. So that's the update.
Thank you. Anything else from question? Mr. Nichols?
No, that's it.
Commissioner Parfra?
I just wanted to ask Mr. McDaniel, have we taken advantage of the Caltrans signage along the freeways to notify people of the closures on Coldwater?
Yes, that we are coordinating with Caltrans on there, and we've also coordinated on the 405 work that they're doing so that we don't have our outages at the same time as their outages. So most of theirs are going to be at night when we have open lanes, but we will also be taking advantage of the signs as they're available.
Thank you.
Any other comments or requests from the commissioners relative to the GM comments or anything else we'd like to cover this afternoon? Commissioner Noonan.
Thank you. I would like to take the opportunity to thank the individuals from our department who provided me with a tour of the Western District Yard last month. I left very impressed with the forward-thinking and cost-effective technology that is being considered and incorporated to improve our infrastructure and investment platform. A couple of things especially stood out. I was able to view the installation of HDPE piping, which I'm glad we're taking advantage of where it is appropriate. And there was an education behind that, learning when it does and does not make sense. And I also was pleased to hear about us partnering up with Japan to learn from them and their experience with Kyoto and earthquake-resistant pipes. So I look very impressed with your team.
Good. I really enjoyed your visit.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you. Commissioner Moss?
Nothing.
Item 4, public comment. We have 3 speaker cards, Barbara.
Yes, the first speaker is Colby Allerton.
Hello. Yeah, we'll ask the rest of the coal fighters to come up. See, we only have limited speaker cards. We'll save you some time. My name's Colby Allerton. I'm a LADWP customer, and I am now a member of the Sierra Club Angeles chapter and California, Reno, Nevada Climate and Energy Committee, and I'm active with Beyond Coal. I'm also on the board at the Venice Renaissance building in Los Angeles. It's a mixed commercial residential development that uses a lot of electricity. So we were excited to hear Mayor Villaraigosa's statements 3 years ago about getting beyond coal, and very excited that a couple weeks ago he was announcing that there was going to be progress in sunsetting coal into the LADWP by 2025. So we're here to support that news and, you know, ask for that dirty energy to be sunsetted as quickly as possible and replaced with clean energy here in Los Angeles, jobs here in Los Angeles. It's probably beyond time that we make that move, and we're excited to hear about it. So we're here to ask, now that Mayor Villaraigosa said it might be a couple of weeks until we hear the divestment plan or details from you all, if you have news to tell us when that's actually going to happen. Yep.
Thank you.
I would like to wait for the secretary to help us if there's a next speaker card, if we could just go.
I only have 2 more speaker cards for this item, a Jasmine Vargas.
That would be
Okay.
me. Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Hello.
commissioners, and good morning, or afternoon rather. I've been coming to these meetings for the last few years as a coal fighter and an activist for a cleaner, more sustainable Los Angeles. And I'd first like to commend the long-term vision of this board to transition the entire utility and transform it into the next century. I know you'll be talking about that today. But really what that looks like for us, and what we're out here because we heard a few weeks ago from a press conference that Mayor Villaraigosa was at, that we're looking at transitioning LA beyond coal by 2025. And as we heard this, our little hearts jumped. It is definitely a critical step forward for creating jobs in Los Angeles and ending the flow of money out of state to buy that dirty coal. And so we're calling on the board today to make sure that we get out of that coal, that we prioritize expanding local clean energy solutions like the Repower LA program and the Feed-in Tariff program we were just hearing from Ronald Nichols about, so that LA can start generating that local clean energy and those local clean energy jobs. So I asked Eric Holman, our esteemed vice president of the board, and Ron Nichols, when will we hear the plan to transition away from those 2 coal plants? And whatever's on the works, we would love to get an update, because this is pressing not only for this city and our community, but also for the threat of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wonder who I can make this available to. This is the press conference that the mayor put together, releasing the news that he's signing off on getting up a call.
So my colleague Auda has a couple of documents as a press announcement that the mayor did a couple of weeks ago for your reading pleasure.
Great. Thank you. Barbara, we have one more card.
I have actually 2 more cards now. The next speaker is Daryl Grail.
Hi, I'm Daryl Gale, and I'm very excited about the solar promotions from the DWP. I myself, 2.5 months ago, moved into a low-income apartment building that actually has solar rooftop panels. It's wonderful, and it's just total guilt-free living, getting to use solar energy for free during the day. And especially when it gets warmer, I can't wait to run the solar air conditioner. And this is the way to go. It's a win-win-win situation for everybody, for the people who get to use the solar, for the local industry, the jobs, the maintenance of the solar panels, the putting up of the solar panels, and most specifically for the earth, for our climate. And solar is the way to go, and thank you, DWP, for promoting it.
Thank you.
Okay, the next
card.
speaker is Michelle Gardardian? Guardian? I couldn't quite read it.
Hello, members of the commission. Thank you for having me today. My name is Michelle Garakian from the Los Angeles Business Council. I'm actually speaking on number 39. I did not know whether or not it was available to speak on item 39, but we just want to congratulate the LADWP and staff for an overwhelming response to the new solar feed-in tariff program. It's truly terrific. From what we can see, the DWP customer base program is totally oversubscribed on the small and large-scale projects. And today, the board will be addressing the RFP for the bundled feed-in tariff program, the proposed bundled feed-in tariff program. But we have not seen the details of this program. However, the GM and the staff graciously met with our leadership to go over it. To that end, our organization and the Clean LA Coalition are concerned about the auction bidding process for this proposal. It was not successful in the FIT demonstration, and as the first tranche of the new solar rooftop program shows, the fixed price attracts customer participation. We'd prefer for the bundled FIT to be tested with a 10 megawatt or smaller program on a municipal building for it to have the same tough standards of accountability, limited RFP offer, if not subscribed, rolls into the fixed price program. And at least, perhaps 18 months to complete the project like you have with the fixed price program. So those are our recommendations, and this is for item number 39 on the management report for the FIT. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the last card for number 4.
Great. So item 5 are approval of the minutes for November 6th, 20th, and 4th. We're going to have to do these separately because some of us are here and some of us weren't. On the minutes for November 6th, I wasn't present, so do the other commissioners have a motion?
I would like to move to approve the minutes of November 6th.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
6 are approved. For the November 20th, Commissioner Sales, looks like we were all here.
No.
Except
I was
for
not.
Commissioner Parfait was not here. So for the 20th, signs Mr. Parfait. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So November 20th carries. And then finally, I was not in attendance on the 4th. And the other 4 of you were.
I would like to move to approve the minutes of November 4th.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so item 5, all of the minutes are approved. For the consent calendar, Barbara, I believe we have 8, 15, 21, 22, and 23 to be removed. And then 14 and 27, Commissioner Moss has to recuse himself. And Commissioner Newton, do you have any?
I have questions about item 18 and 24.
And 18 and 24.
And I have a quick question on 14.
Okay.
But it's quick.
All right. So Barbara, work with me here. That leaves
I'm trying to catch
6,
up.
7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18.
No, I think someone had.
I'm sorry. 18 is taken. So that would be 19, 20, 24. Nope. So 25. Did someone have a comment on 26 or no?
Yes, I did.
That's what I thought. Okay, so 26, and then 27 is a recusal.
On the 2 recusals, I should take this moment to say why, because General Counsel's advised me that I have to say
Sure.
why I'm recusing myself. So on item 14, I am recusing myself because I have a business relationship with the party up for a contract. And on item 27, I had a prior business relationship with the party who's up to get the reimbursement under that item.
Great. So Barbara, on the items left under consent, can you give me the numbers, please?
Okay, I think we have 6 and 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 19, and 20. Then 24, 25,
No, 24 is we have a question on 24,
25, 26.
and we have a question on 26.
Okay, then that's it, up to 25.
So it would be 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 19, 20, and 25.
25.
Right. Can I have a motion on those items?
Mr. Holloman, I thought we were going to ask for a demonstration on item 6. So moved.
I thought the GM had a comment on 6 that you would.
Perhaps perhaps an executive session.
I'll withhold comment.
So moved.
We'll vote on
I would
six.
like to move the items that have been noted for approval in the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Second.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. All right, so 325 et al. are approved without a demonstration on 6 in public forum. All right, it takes us to item 8. Which commissioner had a question on 8?
I did.
Do you require a presentation, or do you have a question?
No, I could just get right to it. It looks like, as I'm reading the board report, and this is the reason for sort of pulling this out, is that there was a $200 difference, if I'm reading this correctly, between the two highest bidders, but they were all non-responsive. Is that correct?
That's correct. Marty Adams.
And it seems that the department has chosen to negotiate with the lowest bidder, Matheson, but the other bidder, who was $200 more, it seemed that there was a highly technical problem with their bid submission. It seemed that the Matheson bid was much more screwed up than the other bid. They were only $200 different. So I was just wondering, were you absolutely, as a matter of law, obligated to only talk to Matheson, or should you put this thing back to rebid? Because it just seemed like, not very fair to the second lowest bidder.
I'll defer to Gwen.
Our policy has been, excuse me, Gwendolyn Williams, Director of Supply Chain Services. The policy of the department has been that when all of the bidders are non-responsive, we go to the lowest bidder and only negotiate with them.
Do you have any discretion in that policy?
We don't take discretion because we're putting them all on the same playing field, that they're all non-responsive, and therefore price is the most significant factor.
But on the Matheson bid, according to the board letter, they didn't put in the proposal, the contract signature page, the pledge of compliance, the child support, the equal benefits, blah, 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 a whole laundry list of things. I mean, it was a bad bid. And Air Liquid missed out on apparently the execution of one certification in their entire bid, and they're only $200 apart.
Right, but that particular certification is mandatory. It's very important. It's the contributions that they've made. So they're all non-responsive, whether they're non-responsive 1% or non-responsive 99%. They're all non-responsive.
And was Matheson the prior supplier of the locks?
Yes.
Yes, and both companies have been suppliers in the past.
I see. Well, I just, I was just wondering, when something is so close like this, and there seems to be a technical violation that is picking someone into, a non-responsiveness, that I would like to see the department use its discretion to maybe talk to both customers and not the one. I'm just very uncomfortable about this one.
Commissioner, on that discretion with respect to Air Products, for instance, that's really not a discretionary item, because that's the Proposition H compliance, and so under city rules, if you don't submit that, you're disqualified. So that's not something that we have discretion on.
So if what you're saying is on Air Liquid, if they had been the lowest one and all three were non-responsive, you still couldn't talk to Air Liquid? Is that what you're saying?
It would depend what the non-responsiveness is. So there are some items that by charter would preclude you. If you don't do the form, you're knocked out completely.
Okay, in Air Liquid's case, that was the situation?
The CEC form for the contribution, for the political contributions, is one of those forms.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on 8? Do you have a motion on 8?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I oppose it.
8 passes 3-1. it takes us to item 14, I believe, Barbara.
Yes.
And Commissioner Moss is recused from this item. Were there any other questions from any other
Yes.
commissioners on 14?
Yes, from
Commissioner
me.
Barfrey.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm just, who's speaking on behalf of
Jeffrey Thornburg, Manager, Distribution Engineering.
Oh, hi.
One of my groups is the Solar Engineering Group.
I was just looking over the board letter, and I noticed that Veteran Suppliers, LLC, was the third lowest bidder. The two lowest ones were non-responsive. And Veteran had a problem with the racking system that Building and Safety had made as part of the bid, and I'm just curious as to why Veteran did not comply with that racking system and what their objections were.
Okay. Well, Commissioner, simply stated, the specifications clearly called out for what we call a positive racking system. That would be as opposed to a ballasted racking system. And the problem we've had recently is the LA Department of Building Safety will no longer grant us a permit on our ballasted racking systems. Therefore, we had to go to the next responsive bidder, which was Ecoelectrics, which did offer a racking system in compliance with the specifications.
Do we know why Building and Safety now disapproves of ballasted racking systems?
It's, I think it's related to earthquake specifications, standards in California. It's a rooftop solar system, and in California, they're just pretty rigid on those standards. We installed one or more ballasted systems on our two jobs at Port of LA, and we had a terrible time getting final approval on that, and we just can't go with ballasted systems on any future jobs.
So Building and Safety's in the driver's seat on this one.
Pretty much.
All right. And there is some good news on this award in that Ecoelectrics was 12% below the anticipated costs.
Yeah, our prior contract, 128, we paid significantly more per watt for solar modules and racking. The good news is we're seeing those prices come down.
All right, thank you. I'd like to move to, yes?
We have a speaker card on 14.
All right, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of the game.
Okay, the speaker is William Shenrick.
LA's DWP-owned solar PV will apparently not produce power for less than merchant power price. Natural gas may not exceed $5 a million BTUs until 2030. Perhaps merchant power bus bar cost will be 9 cents a kilowatt hour through to 2030. This is dispatchable power. Unlikely that non-dispatchable LADWP-owned non-tracker PV bus bar cost will be less than 9 cents a kilowatt hour. LADWP board item puts racks and modules at $1 a watt. Unlikely installed cost will be less than $1.50 a watt or $1,500 a kilowatt. At 3.5% bonding cost, 4% depreciation, and 1.5% O&M, this requires a 9% return. At $15 a kW, 20% utilization, and 85% of PV nameplate results as 9 cents a kilowatt hour. I suspect the Los Angeles City Council will gag on what looks like projected doubling of LADWP rates in the next 12 years. LADWP bonding authority may be compromised, so future 3.5% money may be unavailable. LADWP may not be able to afford maintenance on its existing distribution system. Cheap merchant power will be unavailable if LADWP cannot deliver it to its customers. Skilled LADWP personnel should work in Los Angeles, not run off to the McKay tank farm.
Thank you.
I'd like to move to approve the item, please.
Thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? Carries unanimously. Item 15. I believe Commissioner Parfrey?
No.
No? Commissioner Moss?
Yeah.
Commissioner Moss, do you
Hi, Mr.
have a specific question?
Yes, I
or
do.
would you like-
It has to do with the section in the board letter where it talked about the fact that not all of the original monies to the consultant has been used up. And I just wanted to kind of understand that a little bit better. It seems that that we're extending the contract out to allow the consultants to assist us with hiring and training. But what I didn't see in the board letter is what is the plan for hiring more people on the department staff that's going to, you know, make it necessary to use the consultants' training and hiring expertise.
So when we went out for an RFP for these 9 professional engineering contracts, they were meant to support some of our transmission projects for the renewables, some of our specific renewable activity, help us manage some of those projects because we just didn't have some of the expertise and the resources in-house. We went out in 2009, and we had an expectation then of a rate increase to cover the cost associated with those additional renewable activities. As you recall, we didn't end up getting the rate increase, and we didn't move forward with some of the renewable projects that we had expected to do. So we've spent about 45% of those funds to date. What we'd like to do is extend these contracts out through the end of this year to continue some of that work activity. We're not asking for any additional funds, and we're working currently on a new RFP that would go out onto the street to provide us additional resources. As to your specific question on what are we doing internal, since we've had the rate increase, we have been working actively to start hiring new people, and they will be trained as they come in, and they will be working on some of these project activities. One of our challenges, and it's a department-wide challenge, is we've been hiring new people, but we've also had a rush of additional retirements. So our net numbers still haven't increased much, but we're working hard on that process.
What is the numerical goal for till the end of this contract that we're being asked to extend in terms of new hires?
I don't have the exact number of new hires for the engineers or the field craft, but we could provide that to you.
Well, it seems that according to the board letter, only 20 have been hired and trained. 9 were transferred to support RPS, and 13 have retired in the 3 years since the contract started. I'm just a little concerned that we're not really ramping up, because the idea, if I understood the original agreements, is to hire and train people so that we can go forward into the future and run our RPS properly. And I'm just not seeing that we're creating the infrastructure to be able to do that.
And you are correct. There are a number of classes that we do want to hire, and there will be ongoing work. Some of the renewable work and some of the activities were related to one-time type projects. The building of the Barron Ridge transmission project, that is a transmission project that once completed, we won't need some of those same resources. So it's a balance of the activities to support us. They also are supporting us on some of the integrated resource projects, such as the once-through cooling replacement activities, helping us with those plans. But we can provide you with our hiring program as well as the training that is in place to support this.
Let me ask you this: of the 55% left on the original contract, how much of that are we going to be using up till the end of this year? What's your best guess of how much of the original contract are we going to actually use?
My expectations today, by the end of this year, we will probably not expend more than 60-65% of this contract before we come back to the board with new contracts.
Is that the plan, to come back with a new RFP with a new set of contracts?
That is correct.
Now, I assume that at that time we'll get a hiring program scheduled that will go with that contract?
Yeah, let me speak to that issue a moment, because as Randy indicated, one of the things that we had to do is put off a lot of hires. until such time that rates were approved last October. That's a long process. The process in terms of sometimes getting new lists established, going through interviews. We're going through a significant number of interviews and selection of new people, training new people as well. And this is not just in the renewables area. This relates to our power reliability program. It pertains to some of our steam generators and keeping those older plants running until such time that we go through the replacement of those plants, and a number of areas as well. So it's just it's a process that takes time, and a process that we couldn't start that first step on without knowing that we had the funds to be able to fund those positions. And at the same time, we had this contract here. We didn't use the contract either because we literally put a hold on advancing forward on some of our projects. We'll if you would like an update at some time with regard to where we are overall on our hiring, I'd be pleased to do that.
But just to clarify, our hiring freeze issues are over now with that we've had the rate increase? Are we ready to push forward?
We are pushing forward, but we're still in a situation where we're, to be explicit, I'm reviewing every hire that we do to make certain that as we move forward, we're staying within our budgets. We are, as you know from looking at our integrated resource plan, we're looking at future rate increases beyond the 2-year period that ends next fiscal year. So we're trying to balance everything that we can to try to make certain that we're bringing in the people that we need, doing that cost effectively, still keeping as Mr. Howard indicated, when we have peak types of events where we need someone quickly and we don't need them after that, to use contractors for that, or when there are skill sets that are out there that we need, but we need them only very infrequently to use them in that context. That's largely what we're using this. The contracts are kind of a balancing measure to make certain that we have the overall skill sets and the head count that we need to get through this. We want to bring people on when we know that they are people that we are going to need on a long-term basis. It would be nice to be able to snap our fingers and say, I need this number of people with these skill sets now and have them there now. Unfortunately, our process doesn't quite allow that.
Okay, thank you.
Just for my own clarification, the dollars will not be spent on this contract unless the hires are made, right? I mean, that's why there's still a gap between what's available now versus 18 months. That's why you need the extension, or am I mistaken?
We need the extension until we have time to go issue a new RFP and get those proposals in and come back to the board. So because we didn't expend the funds, we'd like to just extend the contract and have that opportunity to expend some additional funds, continue to work. You've seen a lot of the activities. We have some projects before you today that we're going to discuss, and we do utilize some of these resources to support those activities.
But on an as-needed basis.
That is correct.
Perhaps might be helpful. While there is certainly training as part of this, that's not the only thing that's part of these services.
I guess just philosophically, the reason why I even raised the question is because I want to make sure that as a department moving forward, especially as we ramp up our RPS in this particular area, since the subject matter, that we are bringing in our own DWP resources to be able to run those RPS programs, and that we're not relying extensively on outside contractors. And I appreciate the need for the hiring fees in the past, and that's why I was interested to know what is our program for hiring going forward.
And I think, Commissioner, you will see in the most recently approved integrated resource plan, we, for the first time, added an integrated human resource section. And we are really actively working as a team to build that up, to ensure that we're looking down the road at what our activities are going to be, what are the resources needed to support those efforts, and how we're going to go about that, as well as the training, because some of these classifications, some of our field classifications could require up to 7 years of training to really get to that journey level, whether it's a windsmith to now operate our wind farms or other types of activities. So we are actively working on that. This year was the first cut in our integrated resource plan. We can come back and give you a little more detailed presentation of how we're proposing to do that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions on 15?
I'd like to move to approve item 15, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Parkway. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 15 passes. I believe it takes us to 18, Barbara.
Yes, item 18.
Thank you. Which commissioner had a question on 18?
Sorry.
Is that you, Commissioner Noonan?
Just checking my notes. I apologize. What about? I'm sorry, it was 16.
We've already passed it.
Oh, you didn't? I really just had some background
You want to
questions.
make a comment on it? Sure.
Yeah.
Fine.
My questions were about the reason why we're spending the $140 million. You referenced that there were a lot of fire casualties with the project. So I was just curious if you could just give us a quick background as to how many fires, what caused the fires.
So this is a project to replace the Silmar filters. Silmar in this transmission system is a high voltage direct current versus the more traditional alternating current systems. This comes from the Columbia Gorge all the way into Southern California, so it's quite a long transmission. That's why we use high voltage DC. It converts the DC to an alternating current at the endpoints, and so there's a conversion process. There are these big filters as part of that process, and I won't get into the technical details, but we've done a number of upgrades over the years. So this line is one of the most robust transmission systems in the country, but these filters are quite old now. We didn't, in 2004 when we upgraded the line in the station, we didn't do the filters due to some economic reasons. They were still functional at that point. We have had a number of failures that have caused some fires where we've had to get the fire department out to assist, and it's impacting our reliability of that system. The Bonneville Power Administration on the northern end, so we are a joint owner on the southern end and the operator of the line. We own about 40% of that line. Southern California Edison owns 50%, and then two other municipals. Bonneville Power Administration owns the northern part of the line, and there's a divider right in the middle. It's not an actual station or point. It's just at the California-Oregon border. They own north, we own south. They're upgrading in the north because they still hadn't upgraded to the standard of the upgrades we did in 2004. We want to take advantage of this long outage that's going to occur and the upgrades they're doing and support that down in the south and do this work that we know we should have done earlier and we did not do. And so it was a joint decision of all the owners. So we're going to get reimbursed for about 60% of that cost. And when we're done, we're going to be able to upgrade that line, and we'll have a much more reliable system going forward.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Item 18, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
18 passes. I believe that takes us to item 21.
Yeah, I'd like to do 21 and 22 together because it's the same question.
Works for me. Does that work for you as well?
Yeah.
Great.
Let's do it. My question deals with what are the amendments that we're being asked to approve, because we didn't get a red line or anything to show us what actually the changes are in the agreements with on the demand electric service agreement.
Commissioner Moss, I'll address that question.
Okay.
These changes that you're being asked to approve are purely limited to reflecting the new incremental rate ordinance in addition to the previous rate ordinance. There are no substantive changes to these agreements, so this is just authorizing us to go forward and enter into these contracts with customers who so wish, but substantively the arrangements are no different than we've had in the past for these two particular rates.
Okay, that's what I suspected, but let me ask just as a courtesy, maybe next time when we have an amended agreement that you give us something in the board package that shows us what the actual amendments are.
We will do
That'll
so.
just make it easier to read.
And my question's slightly different. I would just, for public consumption, like for you to describe who some of the customers are that qualify for the XCD rate and then for the XRT rate. Could you name some of those customers? And I think that would be helpful. And perhaps, I'm assuming that these are both, that qualify for these rates are some of our larger customers.
Yeah. Pretty much for the XCD customers that you have flat low profile from 70 all the way to 90%, then you will get a discount. And the typical customer, like AT&T Communication, Bank of America, they have the bank center run 24/7 operation. Then Anheuser-Busch, they flatten their load to making the production there. Several DWP accounts that which have to also be consistent on the load. So that's the XCD account. And the XRT, it's that contract is for demand response kind of approach. That if we have a need, we give customer a call, they're gonna reduce their load.
Right.
Not a lot of people can do that, and I think one typical customer is Praxair, and they did that. They reduce the load about 20 megawatts in the summertime, so they're on that contract. So
this would be manufacturing for the most part. In Los Angeles, there would be this DSM rate that would be available.
Correct. And if they have way to flatten their load or even dip their load, then we can give them some incentive to do that.
And you're working with Mr. Ramallo and people in customer relations to be able to perform outreach and potentially recruit new customers to the XRT rate as well.
Yes, we work with customer service and insurance organization that account managers are on board. They being, we constantly communicate, and they bring the customer in, and we just kind of sign a LA Airport. They also like to get on the XCD. They have the flattened load for us. So yes.
Commissioner, I would like to point out that one of the things that we are doing also is this only applies to a fairly limited number of our customers who happen to have these types of load profiles where it makes sense. We are in the process of putting together a more robust demand response program that will address a larger number of our customers. How extensive that is really depends upon the results of some additional analysis that we're doing. But later on this year, you'll be hearing more back from us on how we intend to expand that demand response program.
Well, again, you've heard this from me before. I find this to be a very exciting program. I would like for us to be very aggressive in recruiting local manufacturing and other facilities to take advantage of these, I think, very competitive rates in exchange for us to be able to deal with some of our peak loads. Very exciting, and thanks for bringing this forward today.
Thank you.
If I may, I would like to take items 21 and 22 together and move them for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 21 and 22 carry. Item 23.
I just have a very quick question on this requested substitute position. Is there a salary associated with that, or has that been determined yet?
Good afternoon, Michael D'Andrea, Human Resources. I don't have the salary for the senior electric representative B position, but I can certainly provide that for you. It is a substitute position that we will be adding to the APR, and the power system will freeze a corresponding budgeted position.
Okay. That's it. I'll move for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 23 carries. Item 24. Is that you, Commissioner Newman?
It is. I would just like to have a history as to whether or not the department has paid for this item in the past, and really why does the department have to incur this expense? Why why don't these kind of expenses, why aren't they paid out of our transfer fee and other monies that we do give to the city?
Well, Commissioner, this goes to the library service that's provided to DWP, and the person is housed here at DWP for the use of the city attorneys that are housed here at DWP as well. So it's a librarian that is used exclusively for legal services related to DWP work.
Yeah, I guess I still don't understand why that expense isn't taken out of the monies that we transfer once a year, and why this is a special request or expense. So I'm just curious as to whether or not this is a new request or if this is something that we've conceded to for the past decades.
It's an ongoing service. For
I think, Commissioner, if I could explain a little more. I think it's important to understand that there are a set of specifically dedicated city attorneys who do work only for the department. We pay their salaries, we pay their costs, we pay all of their expenditures associated with that as though effectively they were DWP employees. And therefore the costs associated with their activities, including this, the books themselves that go in that library, in fact, as well, are things that are paid for by the department in the same manner that would be paid for our own staff.
Why is this separate? And I believe a month ago or so we talked about a $9 million approval or so for salaries and benefits for the city attorney. Why wasn't this included in that number? Why
this is an outside service, and the item that you had before was the reimbursement under the charter for the actual city employees that are housed here, city attorney.
So this is an actual DWP expense versus a reimbursement of a city?
Correct. So DWP will be paying this directly as opposed to reimbursing.
And frankly, I was a little confused by that issue also about the exclusivity of this particular contract. So I'd like to move the item, but also amend the resolution to put in a sentence that the office of the city attorney that we're referring to in this resolution is for the exclusive use of DWP.
Right. The law librarian is for the exclusive use of the.
Well, it doesn't say that in the resolution.
Yeah, we can amend it. That's no problem.
Right. I'd like to.
We will amend it
with that amendment.
Is there a second to the amended resolution?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. 24 carries as amended. Item 26.
Yes.
26.
I had a question on this one. I just wasn't clear. What's the reasoning for the extension? Just for some reason that just didn't come through to me.
We just needed a little more time. We have actually an RFP is on the street. It's in the question and answer period with the bidders, and so we just need some time before we award the contract.
Was there a particular reason why we were delayed with the RFP?
We actually started this process a year ago, January, and we ran out of time. We've been working on this for over a year, but the RFPs are on the street, and we're in the question and answer period.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions on 26? Do you have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 26 carries. Item 27, Commissioner Moss is recused. Any other questions or comments on 27?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 27 carries. That takes care of the consent calendar, which takes us to item 28.
This is Phil Leiber. I'll be saying a few words about this one. This is the recurring quarterly setting of water pass-through factors. This resolution will allow us to set those water adjustment factors for the first quarter of the next fiscal year. That runs from July through September. This is based on projected expenditures for water quality, demand-side management, and reclaimed water and water security. We do need to do this well in advance at the start of that quarter in order to meet the Prop 218 notice requirements. The Attachment 7 to your package shows all of the adjustment factors that will go into effect in that quarter. 3 of them require board approval and 3 do not. The net change in the pass-through rates is driven entirely by the water procurement adjustment factor. As you recall, the dry winter last year is still showing its effects. There's quite a lag for the full effect of that to come through, and some of that increase is still affecting this quarter. The board approved components that we're asking you to approve today are essentially unchanged from the prior quarter. The overall impact of those rates will be a continued increase in the typical customer bill from about $46.04 during this fiscal year. That will increase to about $50.52 during the first quarter of 2014. And the package shows the projected expenditures we're going to make in each of these categories, as well as the calculation of the specific rates themselves.
Questions?
I have a question on the water security element on the breakdown. This is on Schedule D, page 2 of 3. I was looking at the cost of the helicopter surveillance and various helicopter patrols, and those are pretty big numbers. So I guess the question I have is, are we looking at drone technology or any other ways to do that sort of overhead surveillance? Is that something that we've begun examining?
I'm unaware that we've looked specifically at that option right now. One of the things that we use our helicopters for a number of things in terms of not only inspection but transport.
Oh, helicopters are cool. I don't have anything against helicopters.
No. I'm just saying. Yeah. The point being, when we have those fixed costs, we try to make maximum utilization of those. It might be worth looking at the issue. There is just, not that I'm by anywhere close to an expert on this topic, but there are a number of questions about what you can legally use drones for right now. In fact, it's an issue that's been getting a fair amount of airtime lately among private companies and utilities, as well as law enforcement officials.
No, we're not recommending using them at neighborhood council meetings or anything.
It's would you like us to look into that?
Sure. I think, why not?
We'll look into that and get back to you.
We'll work with we'll work with the air operations group to do that.
Okay.
So
I
know that FAA, by the way, is permitting domestic use of drone for surveillance purposes beginning, I think, in 2014.
I just wanted to add on the purchased water. This is the one adjustment. It's the time of year where, depending on what the snowpack looks like, sometimes this would be where you'd start to see the benefit if we'd had a really good snowpack coming off of last year's pretty atrocious snowpack. Unfortunately, we're better than last year, but nowhere near normal right now. We're probably at about 2/3 of where we ought to be, and based on the March 1st snow survey, and just looking at the Weather Channel 10-day look ahead does not look really good. So we're estimating the snowpack going to end the season, which ends on April 1st, probably somewhere around 60%. So what we have included in the calculations is probably not even as conservative. And at the time we did this, we always have to balance. Do you assume you get really optimistic and then run the risk of under collecting, or do you be pessimistic and over collect? But we're going with, we're assuming an average on this. Probably not going to get the average. If we'd had a real healthy snowpack right now, we would have cranked that into the calculation and this would have gone down, but we just didn't feel like we could do that right now.
Thank you. Any other questions on 28?
I'd like to move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 28 carries. 29?
29 is the second of our new money bond offering for the power system. We've been doing a lot of bond issuances lately. It's almost difficult to keep track of them all, but this is a very important one for us for the power system this year. It's a $480 million issue, and in addition to the $650 million that was issued last fall, this will provide about $1.13 billion for funding for the power system capital expenditures. That funds about 78% of the capital spending this year. The carrying cost of these bonds for the many years that they'll be outstanding of about $40 million a year is covered in the rates that you approved for the current and the next fiscal year. We will bring to you at the April board meeting the supplemental resolution that would name the actual underwriters and other more specific information about this transaction. This initial resolution only does certain things. It sets the maximum principal amount of $480 million, the maximum interest of 12%. Now, I should note, we expect to issue these bonds at well below 12%. The previous issuance was about 4.16%, so a very attractive interest rate historically. Interest rates have crept up a little bit since the fall, but we still expect to do quite well. The CAO report that's attached to your package also provides additional analysis of this transaction, and the transaction is supported by the CAO and the mayor.
Yes, sir.
A couple of questions, just more for general edification. Why the 12% maximum?
It's a legal requirement that we don't see that change from year to year. Joe could speak to it more, but that's typically what I've seen in these transactions.
Okay. And then the rate that you base the underlying cost of the bonds, what rate did you use there? Is that at the 12% or is that at a lower rate?
No, that would be at the expected rate on the order of 4 to 5% is where we hope it will come in.
And will the issuances be for fixed or variable bonds under this program?
This would be for a fixed rate offering.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 29 carries. Item 30.
Dave Pettyjohn and Andy Nicknass will be doing the presentation.
Vice President Holloman, Commissioners, good afternoon. I'm David Pettyjohn. I'm the Director of Water Resources, and with me today is Mr. Andy Nicknaff. He manages our Watershed Management Group. Item 30 today, the MOU with the LA County Flood Control for the Pacoima Dam Spreading Ground Improvement Project is before you, and the project will, when completed, will make the Pacoima Spreading Grounds the largest spreading basin feeding our San Fernando Basin in the San Fernando Valley. It's a $30 million project. Our commitment is to fund half the project, $15 million maximum. If it costs more than $30 million, the county will pay the increased cost. The project improvements will have the net effect of increasing the stormwater capture and recharge of Pacoima spreading grounds by 10,500 acre-feet a year. Very substantial increase. The current spreading grounds produce about 7,000 acre-feet a year of stormwater recharge. And after this project's done, we'll get 17,500 acre-feet a year of recharge. To accomplish this goal, the project's going to make improvements to the intake structures. It's going to automate the gates between the various ponds inside the spreading basins, and it's going to about double the depth of the spreading basin. And it's going to combine several of the spreading basins to make larger spreading basins. So we'll go from 6 ponds inside these spreading grounds down to 6, from 9 down to 6 ponds inside the spreading basins. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the project.
Yes. Commissioner Parfait.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pettyjohn. As you know, I'm really very supportive of this project, but it does kind of beg a question. I've heard that there's a stormwater capture master plan that is currently, we're seeking potential help in developing that plan. Could you tell me the status of that plan?
Yes, the stormwater capture master plan is something that we're about ready to award. We have gone through the process of interviewing all the candidate firms that were interested in producing the plan for us. We had our partners with LA County and also our partners, the Tree People, help us with the interviews of those candidates. We've rated those candidates. We have a bidder that we're going to plan to award to. We expect to be able to make that award next Monday. And so the project...
We would make the recommendation, and then it would subsequently come to the board.
Sorry about that. A little presumptuous
just
of
a
me.
small item there.
I don't want to be presumptuous, but yes, we're
but, however, I just want to hear from you that regardless of what is identified in that stormwater, capture master plan, that items 30 and 31 are kind of no regret projects within that master planning, the projects that could be identified in that master planning process.
That is true. These are a couple of the most obvious low-hanging pieces of fruit we have,
All right.
so you're absolutely right.
I think that's an important thing to state publicly. Thank you.
I think the other important thing to state publicly that you had in your board letter but didn't illuminate here is that this thing we paid back by 2018 and has a 39.5 IRR. That's good stuff. You need to make sure you talk about that. When
Yes, you can thank Commissioner Moss for this. Last time I was, caught me flat-footed on that. But
Notice I didn't ask about it.
That was kind of you. But yes, it's a very good payback period.
Those are great metrics. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
30
very much.
passes. Item 31.
We had questions on this one regarding some of the contracting provisions, so I've asked Susan Regani to address those. We're bringing this back for approval.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
This is a contract where we have the opportunity to partner with the Flood Control District. They are going to be installing their stormwater pipeline to the Strathern project, wetlands project, and we have the opportunity, because they've agreed to install our recycled water line at the same time they're doing this project. It's a 24-inch line over 3 miles, and we will design and inspect this line. We've had the indemnification clauses reviewed by risk management and also legal, and the revised language states that we will pay up to the $8.5 million. And if it goes beyond that, then they will be required to come to the board for approval.
Questions from the commissioners?
I'm fine with this. I'd like to move to approve, please.
Have a motion?
Second?
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 31 carries. Items 32 through 36 will be taken together.
Thank you, Commissioner. What I'd like to do is, if I could, give an overview of the power systems, kind of technology architecture, and then we can drill into each one of the contracts separately. But wanted to take a moment and discuss. And before I do that, I'm gonna thank Reggie and the team that's been involved. You see that we don't have a computer up here and a projector. We have a new projection system. They are working hard to automate and make this a little easier for us. So,
very nice.
Reggie in the back, thank you.
Should we make that a resolution that we thank Reggie?
Thank you, Reggie.
He does deserve a
Voice of the
resolution.
I agree.
So the major functions in the power system are our regular ongoing system improvements, the efficiencies we're trying to gain, the maintenance of the system, operations, our trouble to ensure that we're able to respond quickly to our customers, to events, to activities. We have a number of federal mandates, state mandates, even local mandates, and then how we deal with our resources, human resources or material resources in our operations. So we have developed an architecture of our systems to a common corporate bus, and several of these systems are up today, have been bundled together to bring before you. To the far upper left is the work management system, and this system is assisting us with managing our project activity, our deliverables, tracking those from our new business customers to field problems that are going on, tracking the time of the people involved. So from our construction crews, they can use this tool and look up the pipeline and see what's coming down towards them. It's one of those tools to help them in managing their planning of their activities and their future things that they have going on, and scheduling their time and their resources. Another one that we have today, let me see if I can do the pointer here, is we have the electric model, and this is kind of the database of our network assets, where they're located, how they're located, and I'll show a picture of that. We can put that in a number of different forms, and we'll show some of that activity. And then we have our outage management system. And this is to maintain all of our outage activities, where they're located, what are the issues, the response that's going on. This is provided to our customer services so they can respond to calls, the resource needs required there. And to give you an example, and I'll go forward and then I'll come back to it. Okay. This is a typical outage map that's now available to us from the outage management system. This is our trouble board where they're getting to look in real time at the city and where we have our outages, what are the resources, so we can track those. We can dispatch our crews now remotely, meaning that they can be in their vehicle, they can be out on a location, we can redispatch them without them having to come back in. We can provide them or upload them with some of the tools that they might need for what's going on in the system. Traditionally, we would have to bring them back. They'd have to collect new maps for a new job, new area. We're now trying to automate that process. But this past week, or actually last week, I took a group of leaders from a number of utilities over to the Emergency Operations Center of the city. And we were able to quickly just pull up the LADWP map on the big screen and show them where all the outages were currently going on in the city. And it's being used by the fire department, the police. In that type of setting, we have really automated this process. And that became really evident on the benefits when we had that last major windstorm, and Southern California Edison took over a week to restore a number of customers. We were able to address it much quicker, get transportation out to help us with traffic signals and issues, and this is a key tool for that in our outage management. Let me go back. So that's this tool, and this is more of a geospatial tool of those activities that we bring before you today. So some of the functionality, again, that I've shared with our WEMIS tool and our outage management, takes care of our inspection programs, records those, tracks those activities so we can report for purposes of our mandates and our reporting requirements. It tracks a lot of our power reliability activities going forward. We also, our distribution equipment and our inspection programs there in WEMIS, tracking the materials that are used in the field, automatically letting us know when we need to order additional materials. We're tracking all of our meters, where these meters are going out in the field as they're getting installed, their test frequency, their cycles and activities. So just trying to automate all of our asset controls and become more efficient in how we're operating.
Does that implicate that the meters can talk back to the system now, or?
We do have some of those meters. That's part of the smart grid, as you know, so this becomes more and more important to us as that we have full feedback loops. We look at our demand response in the future, how we deploy that using some of the meters and technologies. David's working with us, a number of folks. We have the ability to store information on specific locations and problems on the system, so our crews have a better idea before they go out and get deployed, or they can pull this up on their laptops now within their vehicles. And you can identify the locations from various spatial activities where we have projects for certain types of repairs and needs. So this is part of the ongoing, we've been working on this for a number of years. But what you have before you today is several of these contracts for renewal. Some of them do have a few additional upgrades beyond just their normal ongoing upgrades to assist us in communicating better between the various systems. And I think that's it. But just want to kind of give you that overview of what we're trying to achieve with our technology. As you can imagine, as you drive here just to support these meetings, the windshield time that it sometimes can take. And to get our crews out in the field now and to be able to deploy them from one location to another. If they finish a project early, an activity, or we have a need, to keep them from having to come all the way back to a yard or a district for additional resources before they can deploy is costing us a lot of money, time, and effort. These tools are to assist us in being a lot more efficient in that process. So that's what you have before you today. We do have a couple of these packages are for interim approvals, meaning they're bridging while we await for the City Council approval to move them forward. And with that, we're willing to answer any specific questions you might have.
Commissioner Moss?
So just so that we're clear as a board in terms of what you're asking us for, since we're taking several items together, item 33 is a replacement of a new contract. Correct? For $5.4 million?
I'm going to ask Ali Marabi to come on up, and we'll get into the specifics on those.
Actually,
but it is not.
No, actually, 30. I misspoke. 32 is a replacement contract, correct?
32 is a replacement of an existing contract, extension of an existing contract.
Okay, and we're going with the same provider for.
Yeah, these have been tools that initially came out of RFPs or sole source developed. They are now quite specific and embedded in our manuals, our processes, and our operating criteria.
Okay, and 32 is also a replacement contract?
33?
33.
Is a replacement contract.
Is a new contract?
Is a new contract.
Is that a new vendor that we're
No,
contracting?
same vendor. For our others management system.
Oh, okay. What's the difference between a replacement contract and a new contract?
The new contract is we go through the whole process and with a new agreement, but still having the same functionality such as maintaining the entire system, getting upgrades on time.
Okay. And then 34 and 35, you're just asking us to extend the time of the existing contracts, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the future plan with respect to the 34 and 35? Are we?
These are the stop gaps until we get the new contracts to the City Council, since these are going to expire in a week or two, the existing ones.
Okay. And then will you be bringing are those contracts then coming back to us? The new contracts?
No, those are before you today.
Oh,
these are the contracts you have
okay,
before you
that's where
today.
I was confused then. Okay.
There's two sets of resolutions for each of the contracts.
Right,
One is
okay.
for an interim bridge to give the City Council sufficient time to approve those contracts.
Okay, got it. Good.
Okay.
Mr. Parfait, Commissioner Noonan?
I'm fine.
I'll move to approve all 4 items.
Second.
32 through 36. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Those items carry. Item 37.
Commissioner Moss, that would be five items. but
5 items? Okay.
just-
I didn't call. I said 32, 36, so it's not to call them out, and then you call them out.
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
Item 37, please.
Item 37 is our continuing effort to bring you our renewable projects that will meet our long-term resource needs. This is the first of our geothermal. Mike Webster is prepared to go through a set of slides. We've provided that to you, including the board. If you want to go through, we can go through the entire presentation, or we can take specific questions you might have related to this renewable resource.
The will of the board. Do you need a presentation? Are there specific questions, or are we in favor?
I do not need a presentation.
I don't think either of us do. Are there questions from the commission?
Nope.
May I entertain a motion?
Well, let me ask very briefly, just informationally, regarding wheeling charges. So could you tell us how much is it going to be, not at the cost at the point of origin, but when it arrives here in Los Angeles?
Well, that's the great thing about this project is that we have transmission rights to Meade, and this project delivers to our rights. And so we do not have wheeling charges. We have losses that come in from Meade, and that is probably in the neighborhood of 5 to 6% losses. But that's a physical loss, not a cost to us, a direct cost.
And so what are the losses coming into Meade?
It's related to the distance. So just because you have
As a percentage?
transportation, it's a percentage of what flows,
And
and
so
it depends on
I'm
how.
asking,
Right,
is
so
that-
if you put 100 megawatts at Meade,
Yeah.
you'll maybe get, I think it's about 5%. I'm kind of going back to my wholesale days.
Okay.
5 to 6%. So you actually get 95 megawatts delivered in Basin.
And I notice that the route goes east and then south. It's not necessarily the most direct way into Meade, but does this count as bundle one?
It does count as portfolio category 1, bucket number 1. It is because it is scheduled directly into our balancing authority. And since it's base loaded, we run very little risk of stranding renewable energy outside of our balancing authority. But let me comment just very quickly on why this makes sense in northern Nevada. It doesn't seem direct,
right?
But the reality is that they do have a tie that goes into Gonder.
Yep.
That could ultimately come down through IPP. So when you think about strategy, is that this really could open up the northern Nevada geothermal area and help us with coal replacement as IPP. So if IPP gets downside, as it gets reconfigured, we can actually bring that energy all the way across the top and bring it down through IPP and down through the STS. While this contract doesn't necessarily need that, it does open us up for that kind of strategy in the future.
All right.
Thank you.
That makes sense. Looks like a really good project. Thank you. I move to approve.
That sounded like a motion.
It is.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
37 carries. Do we have questions from the commissioners on filed items?
Yes. This is on the Water System Monthly Report, please. And it concerns the item that was mentioned on page 6, Jim, of the report, which is utility branding workshop, having to do with branding and our local water supply program. And I'd just like to have a further explanation on that. I think that's a great opportunity, and it's something that I think this utility very badly needs, is some public relations support and to encourage people to take advantage of these local water projects.
Yeah, we've been working with a small consultant, small branding consultant for a number of years. He's created kind of a consortium of water utilities under the banner of the Utility Branding Network, and we're a member of that. But the idea is, it's not about creating logos or slogans or anything like that. The idea is basically, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, you're creating a brand out there. DWP has a brand. When people talk amongst themselves, they say things about DWP, and that's our brand. And we have an opportunity to influence that, or we can abdicate and just let that go. So we've been kind of working and we've been working with Joe Romalo and the kind of every press release and everything we put out to kind of try to build the brand centered around trust of the utility, the purity, the technical competence of the staff to produce pure water, the investments in water equal reliability, and those sort of themes. We've been doing that more on the broad aspect, and we decided that it was really a good opportunity at this point, as we're getting ready with the local groundwater replenishment study, to start expanding that to how do we want to start messaging GWR going forward, and really kind of build on the work that Orange County did with the public acceptance that they've had in their project. So this was just a presentation that we had. It was an internal presentation to bring those branding concepts for those people in our local water supply group that haven't really been working on this, to give them, expose them to that, and work forward on that.
Well, I just hope that you and the general manager are working together on this and are looking for opportunities to. I think the department's been doing much better recently with some of the public outreach, and I think as we enter into this critical stage of groundwater replenishment in the San Fernando Valley and other places, it's really going to require a strong PR effort. And
yeah,
I just haven't seen a presentation on that, and I saw the word branding associated with local water supply, and I just wanted to call that out. So thank you for the report, and I think it's been the mood of this commission to really encourage the department to beef up its PR efforts related to this kind of work.
And I should say, too, that one of the specific things we're looking at is, since we're this venture, especially in recycled water, is going to be a partnership between the Bureau of Sanitation and the DWP, that as we work on this branding concept, that we figure out how do we do that, because right now the two agencies, they have different brands and they have different perceptions out there, and we need to decide how we want that to go going forward.
Thank you. That's all I have on the filed items.
Any other questions on filed items? They will be deemed filed. Takes us to items 39. We have a filing on the RPS projects update. Any questions from the commissioners on that? That takes us to 39-2. I believe we have a couple of speaker cards, Barbara.
Yes, I have 5 speaker cards for 39-2. The first speaker is Nader Jadagi.
Thank you, members of the board. My name is Nader Jandagi. I'm the Director for Commercial Solar for EDF Renewable Energy. We're a renewable energy developer for solar, wind, all over the country. On behalf of the company, I'd like to submit to the board a letter of support for staff's proposal of item number 39B for a combined large-scale solar and local solar bundled proposal as a potential means of not only offering a lower-cost solution for the FIT program, but also as a means to support the local in-basin business and economy and building local expertise and knowledge for an ongoing sustainable renewable energy economy. As a specific example of local sourcing, Long Island Power Authority, LIPA in New York, in the run-up to their feed-in tariff program, awarded us to develop and commission 12 megawatts of local solar projects. We first partnered with Suffolk County, one of the 2 counties on the island, to lease 6 of their locations to provide them with lease revenue. And on top of that, we involved about 16 local Long Island firms and employed on average about 60 local workers to develop all those projects, 6 locations, 12 megawatts. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Vanessa Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, Vanessa Rodriguez here on behalf of First Solar. Echoing our colleagues' earlier comments, we too would like to submit a letter of support for the bundled approach to the board. There are extra copies, so I think there should be enough for distribution. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Tim Hemming.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Commissioners, my name is Tim Hemming. I'm Vice President of Development with NRG Solar. NRG Solar strongly supports staff's combined large-scale solar, the bundled program. That's going to be discussed here shortly. I don't know if you know who NRG Solar is, but we're a wholly owned subsidiary of NRG. We're a 47,000 megawatt independent power producer in the United States. We have 1,200 megawatts of solar in construction or operation, including distributed solar projects. And the interesting thing about this program is that it precisely matches NRG's solar strengths and our business approach, which is to develop, own, and operate large-scale and small-scale distributed solar projects. that are built efficiently and cost effectively through the economies of scale, experience, and financial strength of one IPP, the NRG. So we do this by utilizing our best-in-class supply chain and volume discounts with major equipment purchases like PV panels. And then that translates into the lowest installed cost with our distributed solar projects as well. And our products include rooftop solar, carport elevated PV arrays, small ground mount PV, and then very large projects up to 400 megawatts as well. So large scale does result in savings. So I urge you to maintain the large aspects of this bundled program, because that does result in economies of scale and savings on equipment purchases that will translate into lower installed costs at the local level when we do the distributed solar project. So NRG is firmly committed to both large and scale solar, as I mentioned, and when we applaud LADWP for this very innovative program that will help maximize benefits in both categories and also result in localized benefits like jobs creation and local spending as well. So again, we express our support for the program, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Michelle Garakian.
I'm going to waive. I spoke on during item number 4. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Mary Leslie.
Good afternoon. Happy Election Day here in Los Angeles. I want to congratulate the DWP and the staff on creating the successful rooftop feed-in tariff program. Just begin with that, because the first tranche has gone out. It's been oversubscribed. It appears to be enormously successful, and it's because I think of the design and the fixed price that was settled on. So with that, as we address this RFP for the bundle fit, we have not seen the specifics of the program, though we have learned from staff where they intend to go with it. Though it is the opinion of our coalition and our leadership at the LABC that the RAM auction mechanism is not an ideal mechanism for local solar in LA, and that if we're going to move into this area, we should do it with great caution, and that we should start with a smaller 10-megawatt program and have the same tough standards and accountability on this program that we do on the fixed rate program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Tom Bettenbaugh.
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Butkenbach. I'm with 8 Minute Energy Renewables. We're a large-scale solar developer here in Los Angeles and Folsom, California. We have about 2,000 megawatts of solar projects under development in California, 266 under construction right now, and about 300 megawatts of PPAs. We're very excited about this bundled project coming before you. We think that this project, this bundled proposal, allows for large-scale developers to actually start building projects here in the city locally. We see the bundle part where there's a commitment for projects that you do under the feed-in tariff program. It's not just a commitment, but it's a great opportunity. There's a lot of large customers here in the city that are interested in doing a project together with a large-scale solar developer, but what they need is a financing partner that can take on large-scale projects, as well as they need certainty, which this program would provide. So it's very important to kind of view this from the perspective of large customers here, that the feed-in tariff program is something they're very interested in, and they do need partners that can execute at a larger scale than just a small-scale program. So we're in full support, and looking forward to working here in the city as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Rhonda Mills.
Hello, Commissioners. Hi, Commissioner Parker. I haven't seen you in a while. Good afternoon. I'm Rhonda Mills with the Clean Power Campaign. We're here today to support the bundled program policy. The Clean Power Campaign is a coalition of renewable energy providers and environmental groups. Our members support this program because of its ability to get to a class of projects that we haven't seen yet in the almost year that we've been working on the feed-in tariff, deploying the funds into the program. This program will help your large electric users get involved in the FIT, which heretofore they've been unable or unwilling to do, in part because they're looking for partners that have affordable financing and experience in large solar applications on rooftops. You know, solar is on-site solar is difficult to do. Every project's different, every roof, every site, every facility. It is very difficult to finance it on the large scale. So this is an opportunity for the department to do its large-scale project in a way with some partners in the feed-in tariff program that it's affordable for the ratepayers. It provides surety for your electric users who are hosting basically their roofs and sites for your FIT program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that was our last speaker.
So, Commissioners, I'd like to have Mike Webster come up and kind of walk through a presentation on what we're proposing. We're not asking for your approval today. What we just wanted to do is bring to you what staff is proposing, and you've heard some comments from the public. And so we'll go through kind of the timeline, why we're proposing it, and why we think it's important to meet our RPS requirements.
Mike?
Okay, so this is the concept behind the program. Is if you look at the map up on the screen, this is the city of Mojave right here, and we have our Pine Tree wind farm about 20 miles north of Mojave, and this is the Pine Tree Solar Project we're just now completing. That energy comes down the hill into our Barren Ridge station at this point right here. We just completed the purchase of the Beacon property. Now this property is permitted to hold 250 megawatts of solar. It's fully permitted. It is ready to go. And so the concept is that we would subdivide this large property that can do 250 megawatts into different areas. So for example, we have an A, a B, a C, and a D area, and then a utility built area right here. And what we would do is, as we lay out the site, we would have a place where the collector station would go, and we would show where various entities could tap into this. And so an entity would bid on one of these parcels, kind of like coming into a housing development, and they would bid on a parcel, and they would build what was right for them. It could be 49 megawatts, it could be 52 megawatts on this particular parcel. But what happens is that it's linked to local development. So it's not just large utility scale development out in the desert, but it's linked to building solar in Los Angeles. And so this becomes supplemental to our current 150 megawatt set price program, rounding out 150 megawatts of feed-in tariff program. Now, you heard 4 megawatts is up in the Owens Valley. So 146 megawatts are built here for our customers' benefit and local jobs. And for example, this one is a 4-to-1 ratio. So if they're 50 megawatts, they would be committed to do a 4-to-1 ratio, so 12.5 megawatts here locally. And each parcel might be different, 49, and so it's a 4-to-1 ratio, and this rounds out that full 50 megawatts. So 200 out in the desert, and then 50 megawatts local. Now, this is more than just a PowerPoint concept, is that we already have started laying out detailed plans. So these are actual site layouts of the area. We're starting to look at the transmission coming into a new substation in this area. We're starting to look at the laydown of where the transmission or the collector station lines will come into the various solar projects. We're allocating laydown space for the properties. We're avoiding, this is a dry river, but it could be a flood zone. There's some railroad tracks over in this area. So we are doing a lot of detailed engineering to actually turn this concept into reality. And the reason this makes sense to us is that we're following the guiding principles for our feed-in tariff program. Is that we want it to be reliable, and that's always been a given, but we want it to be cost effective, and we think that by tying a large-scale development with local development, we will bring economies of scale and actually bring lower cost deployment in Los Angeles. The other thing is dependable, is that we count on all of the megawatts. So right now we are counting on 150 megawatts by 2016 for compliance with SB 21X. So it's critical that we get this built. We can't afford the luxury of counting on something and then it not delivering and us having to go out and over-procure in other areas. So when we put together a program, we really are counting on it. So how can we make sure that we get 150 megawatts built locally? And one concept is to deploy an additional 50 megawatts alongside the set price program that's already occurring. We think that by bringing, and we'll talk about some of the benefits, by bringing that together with the 100 megawatts being deployed, we'll have more certainty that it will actually get all 150 megawatts deployed. So we'll go to the next slide, Reggie. Thank you. So here's how the program actually is designed to work at this stage, is that we will be issuing an RFP, and the plan is to award anywhere between 1 and 4 contracts on the property. Now it's possible one contractor could get the entire property, but highly unlikely. I think we'd want to manage our risk and make sure that we get multiple participants on the large property. Now by doing an RFP, we get the benefit of actually enabling the local bid preference, which is already part of our contracting process. So there's a local bid preference for the County of Los Angeles, and by doing an RFP, we can activate that not only at the desert site, but we can activate that here locally as well. The price will be for 2 prices. One for the utility scale project, to be between 40 and 60 megawatts. And they're going to have a very, very aggressive price because, one, we have the permits already in hand. We're going to be doing a lot of the layout work and site preparation work, so they're just coming in and building. It would not surprise me if I see prices in the high 6 cents per kilowatt hour for this utility scale program. And then locally, they're going to be doing it somewhere between 10 and 15 megawatts, and they will price that separately. And we're going to cap it. We don't want to pay more locally than what we should. We should see some benefits. So right now we're proposing, for discussion purposes, a cap for the local piece of 14 cents a kilowatt hour. That would be less than the set price program. If they're not going to bring benefits, why do that? And for the larger scale, 8.5 cents a kilowatt hour, which I think is very, very tall, and we're going to see prices much, much lower than that. So when they come to the table, is that they will be pricing it, but they will not have to identify all of the properties locally they're going to build on. That gives them some negotiating power to come into a large big box store, a Costco or a Walmart, or a developer that might have many, many rooftops, or industrial space with lots of rooftops. And they can come in and negotiate for all of those megawatts at one time with that particular business owner. And these will be standard contracts. So I think we've established a standard with our large scale, and we plan on using that contract with the recent Moapan and the Copper Mountain. And of course, we have the standard offer PPA that we have set for the set price program. So some of the benefits. Large scale developers will bring financing to the table. Many of them will bring very low-cost panels, and we know that some developers have already locked in some of the tax benefits and have purchased panels, and they're ready to deploy them. They bring contracting experience. They're going to have the ability to work with our customers and the rooftops in such a way that they'll be able to contract once with them for all of those properties. We think competition overall is going to lower prices. We think that these developers are going to compete fiercely, and so we're going to have a lower overall cost for our ratepayers. And we're going to do so, and they're going to invest in the local economy by creating local jobs and benefits for our local economy. Now, do we think they're all going to do it alone? I think you've heard today some companies have footprints in both large scale and small scale. We think some will actually partner with some of the smaller scale developers locally because of the knowledge base that they've already developed working here in Los Angeles. So we see those partnerships starting to develop already as they're contemplating this program. We think that we're going to get accelerated deployment. Is that with the set price program, we believe is going to be very, very successful. We think this program supplements that, and we're going to get more jobs quicker in Los Angeles, and we're going to have a higher assurance that we're going to hit our goals. Aggregating helps lower our administrative costs. Dealing with one company that's providing 12.5 megawatts is going to be easier for us administratively than dealing with 15 or 20 companies providing the same service. We can deploy the local bid preference, which is important, and we can make sure we're using qualified trained labor that we're accustomed to on some of our larger projects. And we, quite frankly, think this provides a different business model for customers. Some customers are going to be more comfortable with a business model where they can make a decision for all of their rooftops. And so this provides just another avenue that they may want to move forward with related to local solar. And so the schedule lays out in this way. We are actively working on the RFP, trying to figure out all the details to make sure that we have really good quality bids and can bring this to contractual closure relatively rapidly. So we plan to issue the RFP in May for the bundled program. And then between July and September, we will be evaluating those proposals and starting contract negotiations, although we hope that is a minimal part of this schedule, and then seeking your approval of the contracts and the City Council approval of the contracts, because these will all have to go to Council. Each and every one of them will need to go to Council. So we're here today really to introduce the concept, spend some time understanding the concept, and hopefully have your understanding of what track we're proceeding on and what are some of the benefits that we hope to realize as we move forward between now and October.
Thank you. Commissioner Barford?
So in understanding where we are in terms of forming a policy, when the FIT program has come before this board and we've approved it in the past, does the department view that as affirming this bundled policy, or do we have another bite at the apple? Is this presentation right now, serving as a formal policy on our behalf, or are this just a presentation and we're going to come back later and actually approve this?
Well, this is a presentation. We believe that when we came before for the 150 megawatt FIT program, we outlined that a set price was compliant, as well as a competitive piece is compliant with the total goal of getting 150 megawatts in the Los Angeles basin. So this is part of that we established a year ago.
So
we will be coming back to the board for the approval of the contracts.
But there isn't going to be another commission meeting associated with approving this additional 50 megawatts. You're interpreting that our prior consent approved this bundled approach, and we're not going to come back and approve it more formally. I just want to understand that.
We do not contemplate at this time asking for an additional approval of that policy. We think that policy has covered this.
I see.
So to be clear, the next time that we would come back before you on this would be upon getting proposals back in response to this fall.
Well, it won't be before us, but it will be before this body. So, with that in mind, the royal you, yeah. So it's my view, and so if this is the one bite we have at this apple, first of all, I appreciate the ingenuity, and I agree with the goals and objectives of this bundled project. It's smart, and I think it's the right way to go. However, I think that it's important to have written into the policy that we have a way of reviewing it. In the same way that we've reviewed the fixed rate progress, we also need to be able to review this bundled approach as it's ongoing. So I would prefer that this body task the department to come back after 10 megawatts or so. It depends on how it goes, but I feel that there has to be some review process along the way. And I know that right now you don't have that because there could be just one proposal that could potentially do the whole thing. So
Commissioner,
it's difficult. I just don't know if I want to commit the department to this approach without seeing if it can be well executed.
So I'm trying to just understand. Obviously, if we issue the RFP and these developers go through all the effort and expense to put proposals in, I want to make sure that they understand what they're proposing to do. And if we were to just do a partial and come back, that doesn't seem that for the effort
No, I see your
well
point.
done. So we'd be a little concerned on that.
An additional comment, to do 10 megawatts locally would mean doing a 40 megawatt project at the Beacon property.
Right.
Because it's bundled together.
Right.
If I only do 50 megawatts, I'm not compliant in 2016. I've got to go find and do something else, because from a timing perspective, to lay all of that out, that would push us back several years and, quite frankly, put the tax benefits at risk.
And that is the other issue. It's just the timing of the tax benefits to
understand.
ensure that these projects all receive in a timely manner the tax benefits before they do expire, assuming they are going to expire.
No, so in essence, you're asking us today, because if we've already, in your view, we've already approved this process. So today is our last moment to be able to influence how this second 50 megawatt tranche is rolled out.
Well, you've already committed to us or asked us to put forth a 150 megawatt feed-in tariff,
right,
as well to go out and procure on the large scale, and you've approved the Beacon project. We're trying to determine the best way to develop the Beacon project with a number of the issues that are before us, as well to ensure that we get the 150 megawatts of feed-in tariff installed by 2016. And that's the critical issue, too, is just the time frame. I think I've made it known previously. Since the year 2000, we've been installing solar in this city. We've been incentivizing our customers to install solar. We are just now hitting the 100 megawatt mark of applications, not yet installed, but just applications. So we're trying to do 150 additional, plus you heard that the solar incentive program will be in parallel to this. That is more solar going on in multiple numbers here than we've ever done in the past. So we believe this will assist us in bringing those incremental and additional resources, as well as the financing. These entities are going to have to go out and get financing for all of these activities.
I would also like to note that after this board approved our 100 megawatt piece that we went out with, and obviously has come back with some good response, we had, even before this board and then again before council, in response to a potential 245 motion, and the ratepayer advocate asked us questions with respect to his concern associated with the incremental subsidy that we're providing. As I indicated to you, that I believe that subsidy at that level was acceptable and appropriate, given the goal of pushing forward and advancing the feed-in tariff in Los Angeles, and the fact that it maintained, in our estimate, about a 15-cent per month incremental cost above and beyond what we would do if we were to do simply out of service area larger scale solar. We believe that this is a means by which we can get that cost down, reduce that subsidy, and as a result not put yet an incremental cost on our customers as we move forward.
I'm not exactly sure what your concern is, Commissioner Barclay, but given where we are in the timing of this, perhaps the RFP itself would be a way for you to address your concerns, maybe in terms of wording or parameters or concepts within the RFP would give you an opportunity to address that. versus waiting until October and having this body not accept it. As a suggestion.
I have a question. What under the RFP? What are you going to put in about the bundling? How do you ensure that if someone does the utility scale out in the desert, that they're actually going to be able to source rooftops or locations in basin to comply with the requirement of the ratio?
Well, there's a couple of methods. The primary method would be a substantial deposit or performance security to, similar to what we've done with the local set price program of $50 per kW, that's a deposit they have to put in or they're going to lose that. We're in the process right now of seeing if we can actually tie the entire performance security both to the large and the small. And then on projects of this scale, there are tens of millions of dollars of performance security that is usually put up. And so we're planning to be successful on all of it, the 50 megawatts and the 12.5, all of it. We'd like to see that performance security apply to both. Now, we are in discussions with the city attorney working through how we can link this together contractually. We're not done yet, but those are the types of discussions we're having now.
Well, my interest would be that it seems to me that, and this is a novel concept, I have some concerns about it, which I'll address in a moment, but it seems to me that the reason underlying it is your concern that we get to the 150 megawatt in-basin distributed generation within the time frame that we're supposed to do that. It seems to me that we may have to make such a draconian penalty to the people who are taking on the desert that if they don't get the in-basin sites located and that up and running, that it's no longer profitable for them in the desert. Because I don't want to see a situation where someone makes an economic calculation because the penalty's too low, where they say, oh, well, I'll take the 50 megawatts or 100 megawatts in the desert and I'll forfeit the in-basin stuff, and so I'll just get my profit out of that. We've got to have something built in there that is such a penalty to them that they won't play that kind of game, where they're just kind of, to get the opportunity to go to Barron Ridge, that they'll give us lip service about coming in basin, because otherwise there's no reason for this policy. You know, the bundling then falls apart at that point. So I would like to, before I can really say I'm comfortable with this, I'd like to know what those parameters are. What is the penalty going to be to a company if they don't perform like they're supposed to? So that's one issue. And the other issue where I'm a little concerned about this is, again, the optics issue. And I mentioned this to Mr. Howard earlier. Are we somehow, either intentionally or inadvertently, throwing a little bit of cold water on our 100 megawatt program to say to people, well, we don't really trust that that's going to fly in the time that we have for it, so we're already moving on to some other concepts and other ideas, and will that have some sort of detrimental impact on the 100 megawatts that we're in the 5 tranches that we're already committing to? I don't know that there's an answer to that. I'm not expecting you to make an answer, but I want to throw that out there, that sort of impact could result, and that would be concerning to me.
Just in response, we have talked to large customers that have said that they would really like to make a decision on all of their rooftops. And the set price program is very linear in the sense that one project gets in and they do it, and then they try to get into the next tranche, and maybe they don't get the lottery, so then they have to wait for the third allocation or fourth. And so they have already said that they would be attracted to making a single decision.
Okay, and I think that's really good feedback, and in fact, that's why I believe that the Commission, when we approved the 100 megawatt program, said come back to us on the pricing issues, the price discovery, and the overall program, so that we could make those kinds of adjustments. And I think if that's an issue, even with the 100 megawatts, I would expect the staff to come back to the Commission and say we need to change the program somewhat because we're running into some problems here. So that's I think that's part of the price discovery and the process discovery that the Commission, I believe, was intending for you to go out and experiment with. But I just think that the bundled concept sounds really good, but I'm just concerned that unless we have those, those penalties built in that we might find ourselves unbundled. That would not be good.
Commissioner Parfrey?
Well, I'm coming back to a concept I brought up before, that I feel as if this second 50 megawatt allotment hasn't really been vetted publicly, and it's kind of being dropped on us as a fait accompli, and I'm a little troubled by that. And the other thing I'm troubled by is that this really strikes me much more as a reverse auction than a feed-in tariff. And I know that this department and the mayor of the city said that he wanted a 150 megawatt feed-in tariff. But this seems to me to be a reverse auction where we enter into a power purchase agreement with those folks, and we agree to pay them the amounts akin to those capped prices. But I just don't know if it qualifies as a feed-in tariff. And we've gotten a lot of publicity around us rolling out 150 megawatts on a feed-in tariff.
So to address the first comment, we actually workshopped this concept all the way back in June and July of last summer. And so we had many, many different types of comments. Some are very, very supportive, and some were not supportive of the concept. But I would say that overall, there was a great awareness of what we were proposing as a concept. We then came back to this board in November and introduced the concept, although we didn't spend a lot of time on it, but it was part of the feed-in tariff discussion. So it was at least introduced, and we recognized that we needed to come back and have a little bit more time with you to have this discussion. But we believe it has been workshopped, and we have letters in support of it. We have comments that we've archived and compiled as we made our final recommendations over the overall program. So I think the feed-in tariff, to a great extent, is a buzzword. We really had intended all along to have a 150 megawatt local renewable program. The state requires us to do 75 megawatts on what they call, it's not even called a feed-in tariff, but it's like a feed-in tariff. And when the city attorney looked at that, they said, you really can do a competitive process. We said, no, we are going to have a set price. And not only that, we're not going to do 75 megawatts, we're going to do 100 megawatts. And so as far as bringing in solar into Los Angeles, our view is the commitment is 150 megawatts of solar in Los Angeles. And we are very comfortable with the competitive piece because I think it meets the needs of what the ratepayer advocate was saying, is to get the lowest prices. But ultimately, it should bring benefit, and our ratepayers should benefit with lower prices. Otherwise, why do that? And that's why we want to set an upper cap so that it's better than what we can get otherwise. So we're comfortable with the competitive piece if the scale is large enough.
Well, I just don't see any action by this board. I mean, we're being told today that the policy's been decided, the ship has sailed, and the board has no say in this matter.
I think the board can have say in terms of kind of what I alluded to before, and that if an RFP is going out in May, then the meeting before that, perhaps the RFP needs to be brought to the board and have us approve whatever parameters are in that RFP.
I think we would be very comfortable with that, if that would be the desire of the board.
Gives us another look. It gives us time to think about it. Gives us time to provide feedback to staff, and gets it before this board one more time before it goes out to the public.
That's acceptable.
I'd make that motion.
Do we need a motion?
You can make it as a motion by way of instruction to the general manager.
Do I have a second?
We will do that.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
General manager is so instructed.
And well received.
Thank you. So we've got 39.3, which is a presentation on open access transmission. Do we need a 5-minute bio break?
Excellent idea.
Let's do that.
How about item number 6?
Yes, bring on item number 6.
We won't need a break. Bring on item number number 6.
We may have more than a Brown Act problem with that.
We'd have a Brown Act.
Roll recording.
We are back in session, and we'll take up item 39.3.
Commissioners, what we wanted to share with you was a presentation on our open access transmission tariff. We have had the same tariff in place for a little over 10 years, and we've had a working team for this last year working on the cost allocation of all of our transmission activity. This is the tariff and the rates associated with our bulk transmission system. These are for wholesale type customers, transmission customers that want to move power over our transmission lines, and some of the ancillary services that go with that, more of the new services, and they're going to share some of the new services that we're proposing to offer and how we came about some of the pricing of those activities. So this is the first public presentation. We have a public process that we will go through to vet this with those types of entities that use those services. We're required by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to sell all excess transmission that we have available. If we're not using it, it has to be made available. So what we're trying to do is appropriately price that. We do show in our budget every year the revenue stream from our proposed transmission sales. And we have an active team, and that's their role and function every day is to be out there marketing it and ensuring that we're getting that transmission posted. So we have two of our staff. This has been a joint effort of the power system as well as the financial services organization. We have Dennis from the power system and Miriam from the FSO, and we've asked them to give you the presentation on our open access transmission tariff.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, members of the Commission. Thank you for having us. Today we are asked to give you a presentation, the updated open access transmission tariff. For simplicity, we're just going to call it OATT, O-A-T-T, which is a common term in the industry. Like Randy Howard mentioned, the open access transmission tariff like we have today, it was as a result of FERC Order 888, which required transmitting utilities such as DWP to provide an open access transmission tariff to transmission users. And like you pointed out, transmission users are not residential customers. They're not like commercial, industrial. These are customers that use transmission. These are transmission customers that use DWP transmission line to wheel electric energy in and out of DWP transmission system. We're talking about marketers. We're talking about other utility or munis. So that's the point of this discussion. And the current OATT that we have today was in place on March 22nd, 2002. As a result of that FERC Order 888, the City Council approved that on the 22nd, 2002. And the rate that we have in place was designed based on the cost of service for fiscal year 1999-2000. Like Randy pointed out, it's been a little over 10 years since we updated our rate, including our OATT. Since then, FERC has implemented new reform, FERC Order 890A, 890B, just to name a few. And today we have currently revised our new OATT just to incorporate those new reforms. And we also updated our rate by performing a new cost of service studies based on fiscal year 2008-2009, and the findings from the cost of service were later adjusted just to reflect change for fiscal year 2010-2011. And the next slides we're going to go over just to let you know what are the services that we are talking about. We have in the slides, you see about 10 services. For simplicity, FERC called them schedules. So we have about 10 schedules. Out of the 10 schedules, the current OATT only has 8. And now the new OATT going to have about 10, which shows the reform that I'm talking about earlier. We have included 2 additional schedules. And out of the 10 schedules, 2 of them are more significant. These are Schedules 7 and 8. These are transmission services. And the rest are just ancillary services. These are services that support transmission function. We're not going to go in detail over those services, what they do, but the point of this story is to show you that we have additional 2 schedules that we added to our new OATT. And later during the presentation, we're going to pay a close attention to Schedules 7 and 8. We're going to study the rate, the historical rate, and we're going to look at benchmarking with other utility. Marianne going to take over and explain a little bit of the rates, introduce the new rates.
Good afternoon, Board. I'm Marianne Ans from the Financial Services Organization, and what you're looking at here is pretty much a comparison of the existing rates for the schedules we've got currently in place versus the proposed rates. For example, Schedule 1 and 2, the rate structure had changed, and what we're proposing is more in line with industry standard. And you'll see for Schedule 1, it was a transaction-based rate of $134.39 per transaction. Currently, we're proposing 11 cents per kW per month. On Schedule 2, you see a 33, it was an energy-based rate, and now we're proposing 42 cents per kW on capacity-based rate. For Schedules 3 and 5, you see there the reduction, you see the reduction, our previous existing rate was $1.73 per kW, and the proposed rate is 10 cents per kW, a reduction of $1.63. Schedule 5 is $4.99 per kW, and it's currently going to be proposed to go up to $7.84, an increase of $2.85 per kW. Schedule 6 is $5.53 per kW, going down to 86 cents per kW, and Schedules 7 and 8 are typically combined, which was at a $3.89 per kW, and the proposed rate is $3.54 on a capacity-based per monthly rate. Schedules 4 and 9 don't have rate structures, therefore you don't see them included here on this tabular summary.
Question for you.
Yes.
Since you went pricing, you did a pricing survey, right? So is the actual cost, say for Schedule 6, is it actually $4.67 less to run it? If I'm understanding correctly, I mean, how did you come up with the $4.67 reduction?
This is a cost of service rate. This is not a market rate per se. This is a based on what it actually costs to do this service.
What was the existing rate based on this?
And they'll get into that. I think if they're going to go into how they're reformulated. So now we have some additional elements that weren't there previously, and then maybe we'll answer your question.
Okay. This next slide provides, reflects what the impact of the proposed rates are on the wholesale revenues. And I want to caveat this. This is based on prior years, fiscal year, full year for 2010 and 2011. And also it was, I believe, 8 months, not quite a full year for 11-12, where we overlaid what the proposed rate would be on those respective schedules. And pretty much the revenues that we were collecting were from Schedules 1 and 2 and 7 and 8. And this just lays the impact on the proposed rate based on our large customers, a 3.14% reduction, medium customers 6.53 reduction, small customers 15.04% reduction. On a total transmission and ancillary services revenues, on a total basis, it's a 3.38% reduction on revenues. This is estimated based on the prior years that we had to actually model. This is purely based on embedded cost of service basis.
I think I want to answer the question that was posed to us earlier. Can you go back to the slide? Yes, not the one before. Yes, what you see here, your gentleman asked earlier, what is the difference between what we're going down from 553 and now we're proposing 86 cents with a difference of 4.67. You can see that out of all these 8 schedules that exist today, only 3 are actually purchased by customers. These are Schedule 1, 2, and 7 or 8. We call 7 or 8 because they have identical rate, but they don't mean the same thing. They are 2 different schedules, but they have identical rate. So Schedule 4, 5, 6, 8, and 4, 5, and 6 are actually not being purchased by customers. But what does that mean? It means that the cost of service study that we did is to recoup the cost of doing those services. But since we never provided those services, it means that maybe the initial cost of service that we did was overshooting because it was anticipating those services to be used, but we're not using those services. So what it reflects here is just to recoup exactly what we would have spent if we were to do those services today. But since customers are not purchasing it, that's what we should be collecting. But if we had more customers, when we're going to do the next cost of service study, it will reflect because we're basically using audited financial data to track the cost of service that we're providing. I hope that makes sense. Okay, Christina. What we did here, let's go back. What we did, we basically took a snapshot of the proposed rate and compared them with other utilities. The first slide that graph that you see here, we have DWP in red. You can see red. Red means DWP. We have DWP in red, and we compare them to the WEC utility, the one in the western area, and kind of see how we pair up with other utility. You can see DWP rates are not the cheapest and not the lowest neither. But then we went to the next slide and said, okay, let's take a look at other utilities that are under CAISO. These are all utilities that are presently under CAISO. SCE, PG&E and San Diego, and you have the different cities like Pasadena and Riverside. Here's DWP. DWP, the proposed rate compared to the rest is quite competitive. But then this is CAISO. You might not see the difference. The DWP rates is a little less than CAISO. Then when we say, we ask ourselves, why don't we take these two rates and just look at the historical evolution of those two rates? Here we have them here. As we said earlier, we haven't changed our rates for the past 10 years. You can see a flat line. And look at CAISO. CAISO is constantly climbing. And as today, with the new proposed rate, they're surpassing us. So basically, our rates are most likely a little competitive as what they were prior to what we had today. So this is a picture we want to show you today, and just to give you an idea where our proposed rate, what we have now and what we had before. And later on, we will come back for the approval process of all these rates, including the old document, which is a document that defines the terms and conditions for the rate for service that we provide to our customers.
And the final slide here is our revised proposed schedule for the current month of March. The plan is to have public outreach consisting of 30-day review period, and it includes sending out the OAT revision and the schedules, as well as the large generator interconnection procedure and agreement. We'll also be conducting a webinar for the convenience of some of the non-local customers as well as the local customers. A package will also be submitted to the ratepayer advocate. The following month in April, the plan is to submit the board package to the CAO for review as required per the ED4. And lastly, in June, the plan is to submit the board package to you, the Water and Power Board, for your approval, and subsequently to the City Council for their approval.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you very much. Very thoughtful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for all your work.
Okay, we're going to defer 39-4 until the next meeting so that we can give it the proper amount of time. And we'll go to 39-5 at this point. Who's going to present 5?
I'll take care of this, Mr. Vice President. Appreciate the opportunity to discuss this. There was a question that was raised with respect to our government relations contracts. It was a audit undertaken by the City Controller's Office on this matter that was ended and released at the end of December of last year. I'm going to put a little context with respect to that. There's some questions that were asked by some of the board members. I think it's clear from everything we've discussed that obviously the department is in one of its most challenging times in terms of the transformation of both our water supply and our power supply. With that brings a lot of changes. Now, a lot of the changes that come about that we're dealing with are very much in keeping with the policies of this board, with our mayor and our city council. But oftentimes, some of those changes that come about legislatively and sometimes regulatorily constrain or modify how we might want to get to those end paths, and therefore being on top of how that happens, having a seat at the table and being able to influence that so that it reaches our overall goals but doesn't do so in a way that's perhaps unintentionally punitive to our customers is a very important aspect. So, unfortunately, we need to be on top of this, and we don't always have the capability simply here on staff to do that. We have to be immediately aware when legislation comes up, sometimes being aware of when legislation is about to come up, and that doesn't happen at times that happen to suit our abilities to go out and contract for those services. It moves at its own scale. So we have to be certain that it's consistent with our operations, with our future resource choices, because it'll influence those, and it'll influence our customer costs. And this applies both at the state and the federal level, and those two don't happen in any, nice correspondingly planned timeline, frankly. And due to the fact of our size as the largest municipal utility in the country, as the third largest utility in the state, on the power side as the second largest water utility in the nation, much of the legislation impacts us. Sometimes one can ask whether it's even directed towards this department and its activities. So these actions happen on their own time scale, and legislation, even when it's introduced, can move and change very quickly. Something that wasn't intended or appeared to be something that influences us suddenly can change and morph into something else very quickly. So for that reason, we do periodically go out and seek competitive bids for government relations, advocacy-related services at both the federal and the state level. In December of last year, we did get some questions with respect to some sole source contracts that were done back in 2010. And that was the state of concern of that review. I can't speak to what all went on. Those didn't happen personally. Those all happened prior to my joining the department in January of 2011. But it's my understanding from looking at it that there was a competitive RFP that was issued in 2009 for state legislative services. Our process is not fast. One of the reasons I brought Gwen Williams in here is to try to help us work towards making our processes a little bit more quick than they have been, not just for these types of services, but for everything that we do. And for reasons, quite frankly, that aren't abundantly clear to me, after there was an extensive review of those competitively bid proposals, a span that came over from the time that they were issued to the time that they were considered by the board at that time, was over a year. And at that time, the board declined to approve the firms that were recommended by the then interim general manager and then existing chief operating officer. But there were a lot of legislative items that were happening in the summer of 2010, issues that were of significant importance related to renewables, cap and trade issues. There were issues related to once-through cooling and the timeline. There were water-related issues on there, some of them funding-related, some of them regulatorily related. And the outcome of those matters could impact our customers to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars. So it wasn't a situation where we had the benefit to just simply sit by and wait for that. So sitting by idly just wasn't an option for us. And then the then interim general manager, as I understand it, the prior COO, contracted short-term for some very specific assistance on some legislation and went through that process, sole source, to deal with those time-sensitive issues. Now, I can't vouch for the exact process that was used. It wasn't here. And moreover, the people who were here, who had direct dealings with that, are no longer with the department. So everything I know about is very much second or third hand. But I can vouch for the frustration that any general manager deals with in trying to track that fast-moving schedule of trying to get help when you know that something's looming on the horizon or is staring you in the face, and you don't have the outside help to get there. So it's a difficult problem that we deal with. So our process is cumbersome to deal with that. We can't be very nimble in going after that. That's why it's important that we do what we have finally done, and that is went out with long-term solicitations, and we did do that. We solicited and then contracted for, as I remind the board, under two separate efforts. One at the federal level, which we completed in October 2011. That process took pretty much the better part of 2011 to get done. And then for state legislative services, we completed that just in this past December. Now, those were also protracted processes and getting through that. And they lasted pretty much a year or so from the time, actually more than that, from the time that preparing the RFP to getting it out, to getting responses, to evaluating, and then getting to a final agreement on those, and then coming before the board to do that. One of the problems that you encounter with those sorts of things is when you're seeking advocacy help and insight into these issues, you want people who are in the game and who are active and know the issues, are in Sacramento and or DC, depending on where we're dealing with state or federal, and who have the ability to help us. The problem is those people help others. And when you go a year or longer in that whole process, we had people in both cases who dropped out during that period of time. They were good at it, they knew what the scope was, and went in that interim period of time. They had private clients that moved faster, and they're in business, and I understand that. So it's a challenge in dealing with that. I'm hopeful that the contracts that we've entered into right now will serve us for the next 2 to 3 years on here and get us through that process, and that we won't need anything else about that. But I can tell you that there could arise times when we have a need for something very special, very quick, and we may find that during the lapse of time from the time that we first selected that party, that the people we have under contract have a conflict. And when that happens, won't have a lot of choice but to go out and try to seek a sole source short-term contract to do that I wouldn't even have time to come to the board for. And I hope there's an understanding that those sorts of circumstances could arise on that. I think that the benefit, however, that we have out of the contracting that we've done, the solicitation that we've done, is that we now have good information from that competitive bidding as to what should be the costs associated with those services, so that we can use that as a benchmark when we go and need to bring somebody in on a short-term basis, that we now have relatively recent competitive information upon which to base that if we do some short-term. So that's, I don't know if there's questions with respect to that. I just wanted to give you an overview of things that we're facing and the circumstances as best I know them that have been encountered and where we sit today.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Questions?
Yeah,
Comments?
just a comment, really. I appreciate the explanation. That was very helpful and well said. And from my personal standpoint, I would understand how in a moment you may have to exercise your well-trusted discretion to pick someone on a sole source basis. So obviously, we would expect you to let us know and advise us. I think that was part of the problem. I thought, as I read the audit, that maybe it wasn't communicated back to the board exactly what was going on, and that's why it was a little surprising, in terms of the frequency. The other thing I might want to suggest and to look at, just kind of an off the wall idea, but with our bond underwriters, we have a whole slew of bond underwriters that we can pick from, a team. And I'm wondering, maybe we could do something similar in this area, where maybe we pre-approve a group, of potential government relations people, that if you do have conflicts that come up, you could then task order the appropriate person for that job. So just
that's actually an interesting concept. I'll look into that.
Great, thank you. No action required on that item, so that takes us to closed session.
So at this point, we will recess in a closed session, and in accordance with Section 549571 of the Government Code, we will report any final actions taken there.